The year was 3124, and humanity stood at a crossroads. For decades, Earth had been part of the Galactic Council, a coalition of advanced civilizations working together to maintain peace across the stars. But beneath the surface of cooperation lay simmering tensions. Humans often felt like outsiders in this grand galactic family, their voices drowned out by species with centuries of interstellar experience. Captain Ilara Voss adjusted her uniform as she stepped into the grand chamber aboard Elysium Concord, the Council's orbital station. Her heart pounded, but her face remained calm. She was no stranger to pressure. After all, she had led Earth's delegation for 5 years. Yet today felt different. Today, the stakes were higher than ever. The room buzzed with activity. Representatives from dozens of alien races filled the circular hall, their forms ranging from sleek insectoids to towering reptilians. Holographic displays floated above the central table, showing charts and graphs detailing resource allocations. The Council was debating a proposal that would allow mining operations on uninhabited planets, even if those planets belonged to younger civilizations like Earth. Ilara clenched her fists under the table. This wasn't just about minerals or energy reserves. It was about respect. Humanity had worked tirelessly to earn its place among the stars, yet here they were again, being treated as second-class members. When it came time for Earth's response, Ilara rose to her feet. Her voice rang clear and steady, cutting through the murmurs. "Your proposal prioritizes profit over preservation," she said, meeting the gaze of each council member. "If we approve this plan, you'll destroy ecosystems that took billions of years to evolve. You'll leave entire worlds barren. For what? A temporary gain." Councillor Kelthar, a reptilian ambassador known for his sharp wit, tilted his scaled head. "Captain Voss, progress requires sacrifice. Surely you understand that." "No," Ilara shot back. "Progress doesn't mean exploitation. We joined this council believing in unity, not domination. If this is how you treat your allies, then perhaps we don't belong here." The chamber fell silent. Even the hum of machinery seemed to pause. No one expected such defiance. For a moment, Ilara wondered if she'd gone too far. Then, without another word, she turned and walked out, followed by her team. As the doors slid shut behind them, whispers erupted among the delegates. Some sounded angry, others shocked. A few even muttered approval. Back in their quarters, Ilara sank into a chair, her composure crumbling. "Did I do the right thing?" she asked Commander Rylan Hayes, her second in command. "You stood up for us," he replied firmly. "For Earth. That's more than anyone else has done lately." But deep down, Ilara couldn't shake the doubt gnawing at her mind. Had they made a grave mistake? Or was this the wake-up call the galaxy needed? Hours later, news of humanity's withdrawal spread like wildfire. Across star systems, beings tuned in to broadcasts, watching replays of Ilara's speech. Reactions varied wildly. Some celebrated humanity's boldness, calling it a stand against tyranny. Others condemned the move, predicting chaos without Earth's stabilizing presence. Meanwhile, aboard Elysium Concord, the Council convened in private session, grappling with the fallout. Little did anyone know, this decision would set off a chain reaction, one that would test not only humanity's resolve, but the very fabric of galactic unity. And somewhere in the shadows, forces stirred, waiting to exploit the cracks now widening between the stars. Back on Earth, the repercussions of humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Council rippled through every corner of society. News outlets buzzed with heated debates, social media exploded with hashtags like #StandWithIlara and #EarthFirst, and protests erupted in major cities. Some hailed Captain Ilara Voss as a hero who had finally stood up to the arrogant alien elites. Others accused her of reckless endangerment, claiming she had abandoned humanity's seat at the galactic table. In New Geneva, the United Earth Assembly convened an emergency session. Politicians argued over whether Ilara's actions were justified or if they had jeopardized decades of diplomacy. Outside the assembly building, Crowds gathered, their chants echoing off the glass walls. No more exploitation. One group shouted, holding signs depicting Earth surrounded by greedy alien hands. Another faction countered with banners reading, "Peace before pride." Amid the chaos, Ilara sat alone in her quarters aboard the human flagship Aurora Dawn. She stared out the viewport at the blue-green orb of Earth below, feeling the weight of what she'd done. Her team had supported her decision, but that didn't ease the gnawing guilt in her chest. What if the Council retaliated? What if humanity became isolated, vulnerable to attack? And worst of all, what if she'd misjudged the situation entirely? Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock on the door. It was Commander Rylan Hayes. He entered without waiting for permission, carrying a datapad. His usually calm demeanor seemed strained. "You need to see this," he said, handing her the device. On the screen was a video message from an anonymous sender. The audio crackled slightly, but the voice was clear enough. "Captain Voss, humanity deserves to know the truth. The Council isn't just exploiting resources. They're hiding something. Something big. Look into the old research facility in Sector Delta 7. You'll find answers there." Ilara frowned. "Sector Delta 7. That's in the Arctic. Abandoned years ago." "Exactly," Rylan replied. "Whoever sent this knows will recognize its significance. Do you think it's a trap?" She hesitated. Could it be a ploy by rogue factions within human space trying to manipulate her? Or was it genuine intel pointing to a deeper conspiracy? Either way, ignoring it wasn't an option. Meanwhile, tensions escalated elsewhere. Across human-controlled space, reports began surfacing of strange occurrences along the borders. Trade ships vanished without a trace. Outpost communications went dark. Colonists whispered about shadowy vessels appearing briefly before disappearing into the void. Military patrols found no evidence of hostile forces, leaving everyone on edge. At the same time, rumors spread among Earth's population about secret negotiations between certain council members and dissident human groups. These whispers fueled paranoia, with some accusing the government of betrayal. Conspiracy theories flourished, further dividing an already fractured society. Ilara decided to act. With approval from Earth Command, she assembled a small team to investigate the abandoned facility in Sector Delta 7. As they prepared for departure, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into something far bigger than any of them understood. The journey to the Arctic took hours. When they arrived, the desolate landscape greeted them with biting winds and endless white. The facility was buried beneath layers of ice, accessible only through a hidden entrance marked by faded symbols. Inside, the air felt stale, heavy with the scent of decay. As they ventured deeper, the team discovered remnants of classified experiments, shattered equipment, dusty terminals, and cryptic notes scrawled on walls. Then, in a sealed chamber, they found it. A collection of ancient artifacts unlike anything they'd ever seen. Strange carvings covered their surfaces, glowing faintly as though alive. This changes everything," Ilara murmured, running her fingers over one of the objects. Whatever these artifacts were, they weren't human-made. And they hinted at secrets the Council had gone to great lengths to bury. Unbeknownst to them, their discovery had already triggered alarms, not just within human systems, but across the galaxy. Forces both known and unknown were now watching, waiting to see what humanity would do next. Ilara's team gathered around the glowing artifact, its faint hum filling the cold, silent chamber. The carvings etched into its surface were intricate, patterns that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. It didn't look like anything humanity had ever created, nor did it resemble technology from any known alien species in the Galactic Council. "What is this?" whispered Dr. Leela Chen, the team's xenotechnologist, her breath fogging up her visor. She carefully scanned the object with a handheld analyzer, but the readings made no sense. Energy signatures spiked erratically, and the material composition was unlike anything in their database. "It's not just an artifact," Ilara said, her voice steady despite the unease creeping up her spine. "This feels intentional, like it's trying to tell us something." As they explored further, more artifacts emerged from the shadows of the abandoned facility. Each one bore similar markings, though the patterns varied slightly. Some glowed brighter than others, while a few emitted low-frequency vibrations that resonated through the floor beneath their boots. The deeper they went, the clearer it became. These weren't random relics. They formed part of a larger puzzle. Dr. Chen worked tirelessly to piece together fragments of data left behind by the facility's original researchers. Decades-old logs revealed cryptic entries about precursor civilizations, advanced beings who supposedly existed long before recorded galactic history. According to the notes, these precursors had seeded life across countless worlds, including Earth. But the most startling revelation came from a damaged holographic recording recovered from a dusty terminal. The fragmented message showed a grainy image of what appeared to be a humanoid figure speaking in an unfamiliar language. Subtitles translated by the system read, "To those who find this, know you are not alone. You are descendants of the firstborn. Seek the truth, for it lies scattered among the stars." Ilara froze, her mind racing. Descendants of the firstborn. Was this implying that humanity wasn't native to Earth after all? That they were somehow connected to these ancient beings? "This changes everything," Rylan muttered, his arms crossed tightly over his chest. "If we're descendants of some precursor race, then why has the Council kept this hidden?" "They must have thought we weren't ready," Ilara replied, her voice tinged with both anger and awe. "Or maybe they feared what would happen if we found out." But fear wasn't the only emotion stirring within her. A spark of determination ignited, a need to uncover the full story. If the Council had deliberately suppressed this knowledge, then humanity's withdrawal might have been exactly what they needed to take control of their destiny. Back on Earth, news of the discovery began to leak. Someone on the team, whether intentionally or accidentally, had transmitted partial findings to Earth Command. Within hours, the information spread like wildfire, sparking debates worldwide. Conspiracy theorists latched onto the idea of humanity's extraterrestrial origins, weaving wild narratives about alien overlords and forgotten empires. Scientists demanded access to the artifacts, while politicians scrambled to manage public reaction. Meanwhile, reports of mysterious attacks along human borders grew more frequent. Entire colonies reported blackouts, and ships vanished without explanation. Military analysts speculated about rogue factions exploiting the chaos, but Ilara suspected something far older and far deadlier was at play. Days turned into weeks as Ilara and her team pieced together more clues. They discovered maps embedded in the artifact's carvings, pointing to locations scattered across the galaxy. One symbol stood out repeatedly, a spiral galaxy encircled by lines radiating outward. It looked eerily familiar. "That's Andromeda," Dr. Chen gasped, pointing at the carving. "They're showing us where to go next." Ilara stared at the map, her resolve hardening. Whoever, or whatever, the precursors were, they had left behind a trail meant to be followed. And now, with humanity isolated from the Council, there was no one else to pick up the torch. "We follow it," she declared firmly. "Whatever answers lie out there, we'll find them ourselves." Unbeknownst to them, their decision set off ripples across the galaxy. Forces both seen and unseen began to stir, drawn to the awakening of secrets long buried. Humanity's journey was only beginning, and the path ahead promised danger, wonder, and truths beyond imagination. Ilara stood on the bridge of the Aurora Dawn, staring at the holographic star map projected before her. The symbols from the artifacts had been decoded, revealing coordinates scattered across human-controlled space and beyond. Their first destination was a remote system near the Kuiper Belt, a region notorious for its icy debris and eerie isolation. It wasn't just a leap into the unknown. It felt like stepping into a shadowy corner of the galaxy where no one dared to tread. The journey took days, but anticipation kept everyone alert. Dr. Chen pored over data from the artifacts, trying to decipher more clues, while Commander Rylan oversaw the ship's defenses. Tension hung thick in the air as they approached their target, an uncharted asteroid field surrounding a dimly lit dwarf star. Sensors picked up faint energy signatures emanating from within the rocks, but nothing matched any known spacecraft or technology. "Something's out there," muttered Lieutenant Dax, the ship's navigator, his fingers flying across the console. "But whatever it is, it doesn't want to be found." Ilara nodded grimly. "Prepare a shuttle team. We're going in." Hours later, Ilara led the small group through the treacherous asteroid field in a heavily armed shuttle. The silence was unnerving. No comms chatter, no signs of life. Just the cold void stretching endlessly around them. Then, as they rounded a massive chunk of ice, they saw it, a derelict alien ship embedded in the rock, its sleek obsidian hull glinting faintly under their floodlights. The vessel was unlike anything recorded in galactic archives. Its design was organic yet mechanical, with smooth curves that seemed to ripple when touched by light. Strange symbols etched into its surface pulsed softly, as if alive. The sight sent shivers down Ilara's spine. "This isn't Council tech," Rylan whispered, his weapon raised cautiously. "And it's not precursor either, or at least not entirely." They docked with the ghostly craft using magnetic clamps and stepped inside. The interior was even stranger than the exterior. Walls shimmered with faint luminescence, and the air carried an almost imperceptible hum. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just emptiness. But the deeper they ventured, the more unsettling things became. In the central chamber, they found what appeared to be a control panel covered in carvings similar to those on the artifacts. Beneath it, scrawled across the wall in jagged strokes, was a single word repeated over and over: "Withdraw." "What does it mean?" Dr. Chen asked, her voice trembling. "Is this a warning? A command?" Before anyone could answer, the ship came alive. Lights flared, and a deep, resonant tone filled the room. Holograms flickered into existence, showing fragmented images of battles, destruction, and fleeing ships. Among them were glimpses of humanity, not modern humans, but primitive tribes gazing skyward at strange lights descending from above. Ilara's breath caught in her throat. This might explain why we withdrew from the council. Maybe our ancestors knew something about these beings, and now were stumbling back into their territory. Suddenly, alarms blared. The shuttle's sensors detected movement outside the ship, dozens of shadowy forms darting between asteroids. Whatever they were, they weren't friendly. "We need to leave. Now," Rylan barked, ushering the team toward the exit. As they raced back to the shuttle, Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. When they finally launched, narrowly avoiding collisions with the mysterious figures, she glanced back at the derelict ship. Its glowing symbols dimmed, as if acknowledging their departure. Back aboard the Aurora Dawn, the crew analyzed the footage and readings. What they discovered chilled them to the core. The attackers weren't ships or drones. They were something far older, far deadlier. Ancient guardians programmed to protect the secrets of the precursors. Ilara stared at the stars, her mind racing. Humanity had withdrawn from the council to forge its own path, but now, it seemed, they weren't alone in the void. Forces far greater than they'd imagined were watching, waiting, and the question remained: would humanity survive long enough to uncover the truth? Far from the icy reaches of the Kuiper Belt, aboard the opulent council chambers of Elysium Concord, chaos reigned. News of humanity's discovery and their subsequent withdrawal had spread like wildfire among the galactic delegates. The once unified body was now fractured, its members divided over how to respond to Earth's defiance and the growing threat of shadowy attackers haunting human space. Councillor Kelthar paced the marble floor, his scaled tail flicking with agitation. As one of the few voices advocating for reconciliation with humanity, he faced fierce opposition from those who saw humans as reckless upstarts unworthy of trust. Chief among them was Ambassador Velura, a sleek insectoid whose multifaceted eyes gleamed with disdain. They abandoned us. Valera hissed, her mandibles clicking sharply. They turned their backs on centuries of progress because they couldn't handle the truth. Now look at the mess they've made. Kelthar stopped pacing and turned to face her, his voice calm but firm. And what truth is that, Ambassador? That we've hidden precursor artifacts from them. That we feared their reaction if they learned they were descendants of an ancient race. Perhaps it's time we admit our mistakes instead of blaming them for ours. The chamber erupted into heated arguments. Some delegates sided with Kelthar, urging caution and cooperation. Others demanded swift retaliation against humanity, accusing them of stirring up trouble by meddling in matters beyond their understanding. Amid the cacophony, a young avian delegate named Sadra raised her feathered wings for silence. Enough, she called out, her melodic voice cutting through the noise. We are wasting time arguing while a greater danger looms. These shadowy entities attacking human borders, they're not targeting just Earth. Reports confirm they've begun encroaching on Council worlds as well. Her words silenced the room. Eyes darted between delegates as the gravity of her statement sank in. For all their disagreements, one thing was clear. If these mysterious forces weren't stopped, no world, not even the Council's core territories, would be safe. Then what do you propose? Valera snapped, though her usual confidence wavered slightly. We must act together, Kelthar said, seizing the moment. Humanity holds answers we need. The artifacts, the derelict ship, the warnings etched in alien symbols. If we want to survive this threat, we have no choice but to reach out to them. But unity wouldn't come easily. Factions within the Council had already begun plotting behind closed doors, some secretly arming rogue human dissidents, hoping to destabilize Earth further. Others pushed for military intervention, believing force would bring humanity back into line. As the debate raged on, a private message reached Kelthar's personal terminal. It contained encrypted coordinates leading to another precursor site, one located perilously close to Council-controlled space. Whoever sent it included a single line. Time is running out. Kelthar stared at the screen, his resolve hardening. He knew the Council's survival depended on more than politics or pride. It required humility and courage. Humanity might have walked away, but they hadn't severed ties completely. Rebuilding trust wouldn't be easy, but it was necessary. Meanwhile, light years away, Ilara reviewed intel reports detailing fresh attacks near Council colonies. Shadowy vessels had struck without warning, leaving devastation in their wake. Survivors described encounters with ghostly figures clad in shimmering armor, moving with unnatural speed and precision. Each attack ended with the same cryptic message transmitted across frequencies: withdraw. Ilara clenched her fists. Whatever these beings were, they weren't mere aggressors. They were enforcers, and humanity's actions had likely triggered their awakening. A transmission request blinked on her console. To her surprise, it came from Elysium Concord. Her heart skipped a beat. Was the Council finally ready to talk? When the holographic image of Councillor Kelthar appeared, his expression was grim yet sincere. Captain Voss, he began, we may have underestimated your people and ourselves. Can we start again? Ilara hesitated, weighing his words. Trust wasn't something easily earned, especially after everything that had happened. But as she looked at the map of precursor sites glowing on her screen, she realized humanity couldn't face this alone. Tell me why I should believe you, she replied coolly, her tone sharp but measured. Kelthar leaned closer, his gaze steady. Because we're running out of options. And so are you. The galaxy held its breath as two estranged sides prepared to bridge the chasm between them. Yet lurking in the shadows, ancient forces stirred, watching and waiting to see if their warnings would go unheeded once more. The transmission ended, leaving Ilara staring at the blank holographic display. Kelthar's words echoed in her mind. We're running out of options, and so are you. She knew he was right. Humanity couldn't face the shadowy attackers alone, and the Council seemed equally desperate. But trust wasn't something that could be rebuilt overnight. "What do we do now?" Rylan asked, breaking the silence on the bridge of the Aurora Dawn. His arms were crossed tightly over his chest, his expression skeptical. "If this is a trap—" "It might be," Ilara interrupted, turning to face him. "But if it's not, then ignoring them could mean disaster for everyone. We don't have the luxury of doubt anymore." Dr. Chen chimed in, her voice hesitant but determined. "Captain, think about what they said. If the Council has information about these entities, or even another precursor site, we need to hear them out. This isn't just about us. It's about survival." Ilara nodded slowly. As much as she distrusted the Council, their shared predicament forced her hand. "Set a course for Elysium Concord," she ordered. "Let's see what they're willing to offer." When the Aurora Dawn docked with the Council station, an uneasy tension filled the air. The human delegation stepped onto the gleaming platform, flanked by armed guards. Councillor Kelthar greeted them personally, his reptilian features betraying no emotion. Behind him stood representatives from several key council factions, their expressions ranging from cautious curiosity to outright hostility. "Thank you for coming," Kelthar began, his voice steady. "I won't insult your intelligence by pretending this meeting is anything other than necessary. Both our peoples face a threat unlike any we've encountered before." Ilara met his gaze evenly. "Then show us what you know. Prove you're serious about working together." Kelthar gestured toward a private chamber where holographic displays flickered to life. Maps of the galaxy lit up, highlighting locations marked with red dots, precursor sites. Among them was one near the edge of Council territory, recently discovered after strange signals drew attention. Reports described eerie similarities to the derelict ship found by Ilara's team. Glowing symbols, cryptic warnings, and signs of ancient guardians. "This site may hold answers," Kelthar explained. "But we can't secure it alone. Our forces are stretched thin defending against attacks. If humanity joins us, we stand a better chance of uncovering the truth." Ilara studied the data carefully. It was clear the Council needed help, but so did humanity. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were being used. Before agreeing, she demanded access to classified records detailing previous encounters with precursor artifacts. To her surprise, Kelthar complied without hesitation. Hours later, buried deep in the archives, Ilara uncovered evidence of renegade scientists who had fled the Council decades ago. These exiles had been studying precursor technology in secret, believing the Council too fearful or too corrupt to handle its power responsibly. More importantly, they claimed to have made contact with remnants of the precursor civilization itself. "We need to find them," Ilara declared when she returned to her team. "They might know how to stop these attackers, or at least understand why they're targeting us." With Kelthar's reluctant approval, the humans set a course for the renegade colony hidden on a remote moon. When they arrived, they were met by a ragtag group of scientists and engineers living in makeshift domes. Their leader, a grizzled human named Dr. Elias Marrow, greeted them warmly. "You're late," he said, his voice gravelly but sharp. "We've been waiting years for someone brave enough, or desperate enough, to listen." Ilara stepped forward. "Tell us everything." Marrow hesitated, then nodded. "Fine. But remember, you asked for it." As he led them inside, holograms revealed shocking truths. The precursors hadn't just seeded life. They'd created entire ecosystems designed to evolve under specific conditions. And the shadowy attackers weren't mindless drones. They were automated protectors programmed to eliminate threats to the precursors' legacy. "They're testing us," Marrow concluded grimly, "to see if we're worthy of inheriting their secrets." Ilara felt a chill run down her spine. If humanity failed this test, the consequences would be catastrophic for everyone. Inside the renegade colony's main dome, holographic projections danced across the walls, casting eerie shadows over the assembled group. Dr. Elias Marrow stood at the center, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of ancient maps and schematics. His voice carried a weight that silenced even the skeptical members of Ilara's team. The precursors didn't just leave behind artifacts, Marrow explained, pointing to a sprawling network depicted on one of the holograms. They built an entire system, a fail-safe design to awaken only when certain conditions were met. These sites you've discovered, they're nodes in that system, each holding fragments of their legacy. Ilara leaned closer, her eyes scanning the map. The nodes formed a constellation-like pattern spanning the galaxy, with Earth positioned near its heart. She frowned. Why Earth? Why would they place such importance on our planet? Marrow hesitated before answering, as if choosing his words carefully. Because your ancestors were among the first experiments. Humanity wasn't just seeded. They were engineered. You carry traces of precursor DNA, which is why you resonate with their technology. He gestured toward the glowing symbols etched into the artifacts. That's why those markings feel familiar to you. A murmur rippled through the room. Dr. Chen looked stunned, while Ryland clenched his fists, clearly struggling to process the revelation. For humanity, this wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about identity. But what happens if we activate these nodes? Ilara asked, her tone urgent. What does the system do? Marrow's expression darkened. It depends. The precursors foresaw their own extinction and created this network as a safeguard, for better or worse. If activated correctly, it could restore balance to dying ecosystems, revive barren worlds, and unite species through shared understanding. But if misused, he trailed off, letting the implication hang heavy in the air. Then it destroys. Ilara finished for him. Her mind raced. The shadowy attackers weren't merely enforcers. They were safeguards programmed to prevent unauthorized access. Every attack, every warning had been a test, and humanity had unknowingly stepped into the middle of it. Marrow nodded grimly. Exactly. Whoever controls the network controls unimaginable power. That's why the Council suppressed this knowledge. They feared chaos if word got out. But now, with both humans and Council factions scrambling for answers, the risk of misuse has never been higher. Ilara turned to her team. We don't have a choice. We need to secure the remaining nodes before anyone else does, including the Council. Ryland stepped forward, his brow furrowed. And then what? Do we trust ourselves to use this power wisely, or are we no different from the Council? Ilara met his gaze, her resolve hardening. We'll make sure it's used for good. For all species, not just humanity. But first, we have to stop those guardians, and whoever else is trying to exploit this. As they prepared to leave, Marrow handed Ilara a small device, a prototype key designed to interface with precursor technology. This will help you unlock the central node, he said. But be careful. Once you activate it, there's no turning back. The journey to the central site took them deep into uncharted territory, skirting the edge of a black hole's accretion disk. The gravitational pull warped space around them, creating a surreal landscape of swirling light and shadow. When they finally arrived, the site loomed before them. A massive structure carved into the event horizon itself, pulsating with energy. This is it, Ilara whispered, staring up at the colossal monument, the heart of the precursor network. But as they approached, alarms blared. Shadowy vessels emerged from the void, surrounding them. The Guardians had found them. We can't fight them all, Ryland said, gripping his weapon tightly. Ilara shook her head. We won't have to. Trust me. With the prototype key in hand, she led the charge toward the entrance, determined to reach the core before the Guardians could stop them. As they breached the threshold, the ground trembled beneath their feet, and a deep resonant hum filled the air. Whatever happened next would change the galaxy forever. And Ilara knew they were running out of time. The interior of the central site was unlike anything Ilara and her team had ever seen. The walls shimmered with an iridescent glow, pulsating in rhythm with the hum that resonated through the air. Strange symbols floated above the floor, shifting like liquid light, as if guiding them deeper into the structure. At the center of the chamber stood a massive console, a towering monolith covered in intricate carvings that matched the artifacts they'd uncovered. "This is it," Dr. Chen murmured, her voice trembling with awe. "The nexus of the precursor network." Ilara stepped forward, clutching the prototype key Mero had given her. Her hand shook slightly, but she steadied herself. There was no room for hesitation now. Outside, the shadowy guardians were closing in, their ominous presence felt even within the thick walls of the structure. "Activate it," Rylan urged, his weapon drawn as he kept watch near the entrance. "We don't have much time." Ilara inserted the key into a slot on the console. It clicked into place, and the entire chamber lit up with blinding intensity. Streams of energy surged through the carvings, connecting to the floating symbols around them. A holographic projection materialized above the console, a map of the galaxy overlaid with glowing lines linking the precursor nodes. But something was wrong. The system didn't stabilize. Instead, warning signals flashed across the interface, accompanied by a low guttural vibration that rattled their bones. "What's happening?" Dr. Chen asked, panic creeping into her voice. "It's rejecting us," Ilara realized, her heart sinking. The Guardians must have tampered with the system externally. They're trying to block activation. Before anyone could react, the doors to the chamber burst open. Shadowy figures poured in. Tall, armored beings with glowing eyes that seemed to pierce through the dim light. Their movements were unnaturally fluid, almost predatory. They surrounded the team, weapons raised, their silence more menacing than any threat. One of the Guardians stepped forward, its armor shimmering like liquid metal. It spoke, not with words, but directly into their minds. "You are unworthy. Withdraw or perish." Ilara locked eyes with the creature, her fear giving way to determination. "No," she said firmly. "We're not withdrawing. This isn't just about humanity. It's about every species in the galaxy. If you destroy us, you'll doom everyone." For a moment, there was only silence. Then the Guardian tilted its head, as if considering her words. Behind it, the others lowered their weapons slightly, though they remained tense and ready to strike. Rylan seized the opportunity. "If you let us finish this, we can prove ourselves. Let us show you we're capable of using this power responsibly." The lead Guardian hesitated before responding. "Prove your worth. But know this, if you fail, the consequences will be absolute." With that, the Guardians retreated, melting back into the shadows as quickly as they had appeared. The tension in the room eased slightly, but the pressure on Ilara's shoulders grew heavier. She turned back to the console, her mind racing. How could they prove themselves? What did the Guardians, and the precursors, consider worthy? "We need to connect all the nodes simultaneously," Dr. Chen suggested, studying the hologram. "It's not enough to activate just one site. The entire network has to come online at once." Ilara nodded. "Then we'll do it. Send encrypted coordinates to every human-controlled outpost in Council world. Tell them to secure the nearest precursor sites and prepare for synchronized activation." As orders went out, the countdown began. Across the galaxy, teams mobilized toward the precursor nodes, working against time and increasingly aggressive attacks from rogue factions seeking to claim the technology for themselves. Meanwhile, aboard the central site, Ilara initiated the final sequence. Energy coursed through the console, spreading outward like veins of light. Outside, the black hole's gravity intensified, pulling debris dangerously close. The structure groaned under the strain, threatening to collapse. Yet Ilara refused to falter. With one last command, she triggered the activation. A wave of energy erupted from the core, rippling outward across the galaxy. For a moment, everything froze. The stars, the ships, the very fabric of space itself. Then, slowly, life returned, but it was different. Dead planets bloomed with vegetation, barren systems teemed with potential, and barriers between species dissolved as shared wonder united former enemies. Back inside the chamber, the lead guardian reappeared, watching silently. After a long pause, it bowed its head. "You have proven yourselves. Guard this gift wisely." And with that, the guardians vanished, leaving humanity and the galaxy to face a new dawn. The energy wave rippled outward, bathing the galaxy in a cascade of light and transformation. Across star systems, worlds once thought dead sprang to life. Barren deserts turned into lush green landscapes, toxic atmospheres cleared to reveal breathable air, and oceans filled with vibrant ecosystems where none had existed before. Even the stars themselves seemed brighter, their light carrying an almost musical resonance that echoed through space. On Earth, people gathered outside under clear skies, watching as auroras danced in colors never seen before. In cities and rural areas alike, crowds fell silent, awestruck by the changes unfolding around them. News broadcasts showed footage from across human-controlled space, colonies celebrating as barren moons transformed into habitable sanctuaries, ships reporting miraculous recoveries of damaged vessels, and scientists marveling at data streams showing unprecedented levels of biodiversity emerging on once-dead planets. But the awakening wasn't limited to physical transformations. Species who had long distrusted one another found themselves drawn together by a shared sense of wonder. On Elysium Concord, council members stood side by side with human delegates, gazing out at the shifting cosmos through massive observation windows. For the first time in decades, there was no arguing, no posturing, just a collective hush as they witnessed the rebirth of the galaxy. Ilara watched the spectacle from the central site, her heart swelling with both pride and apprehension. The precursor network had worked, but what did it mean for the future? She turned to her team, each member equally stunned by what they'd accomplished. "We did it," Ryland said softly, breaking the silence. "We actually did it." Dr. Chen nodded, tears streaming down her face. This is beyond anything we could have imagined. It's like the precursors gave us a second chance to start over. But Ilara couldn't shake the lingering question. Had they truly earned this gift, or were they simply lucky enough to survive the test? As if in response, the holographic map above the console flickered back to life. This time, it displayed not just nodes but pathways, new connections forming between civilizations across the galaxy. Messages poured in from every corner, reports of alliances being forged, trade routes reopening, and even former enemies working together to rebuild shattered worlds. Yet amidst the celebration, trouble stirred. Not everyone welcomed the changes. Rogue factions within human space and council territories began protesting, accusing Ilara and her team of playing God. Some claimed humanity had overstepped its bounds, while others feared the power now at their disposal would lead to corruption or war. Back on Earth, political tensions flared anew. While many hailed Ilara as a hero, others demanded accountability, questioning whether she had acted recklessly. Protesters clashed in major cities, holding banners that read, "Who gave you the right?" alongside supporters chanting for a new galaxy. Meanwhile, whispers of dissent spread among the council. Though Kelthar praised humanity's role in activating the network, others argued that control of such immense power should rest solely with the council. Behind closed doors, secret meetings were held, plans drafted to seize oversight of the precursor sites. Ilara knew the peace wouldn't last forever. As she stood aboard the Aurora Dawn, preparing to return to Earth, she felt the weight of responsibility settle heavily on her shoulders. They had awakened something extraordinary, but maintaining it would require vigilance, unity, and sacrifice. Her thoughts were interrupted by a transmission from an unexpected source. Ambassador Valera, the insectoid counselor who had opposed humanity at every turn. Her voice crackled through the comms, unusually subdued. "Captain Voss," she began, "I may have misjudged your people. Perhaps we can find common ground after all." Ilara hesitated before responding. "We'll see, Ambassador. But remember, One mistake won't undo centuries of distrust overnight. As the transmission ended, Ilara stared out at the transformed galaxy. Humanity had proven itself worthy of the precursor's legacy, for now. But the true test lay ahead. Could they rise above old divisions and build a future worthy of the gift they'd been given? Only time would tell. The galaxy had changed, but so had humanity and the Council. In the weeks following the activation of the precursor network, the transformations rippled outward in ways no one could have predicted. Worlds once barren became havens for life, and species that had spent centuries at odds found themselves united by awe and gratitude. Yet beneath the surface of this newfound harmony, tension simmered, waiting to boil over. Ilara stood on the observation deck of the Aurora Dawn, gazing out at Earth from orbit. The planet looked more vibrant than ever before, oceans shimmering like jewels, forests stretching endlessly across continents. Humanity's home had been reborn alongside the rest of the galaxy, a testament to what cooperation and courage could achieve. But Ilara knew better than anyone that beauty often masked fragility. Back on Earth, leaders struggled to navigate the shifting landscape. Governments convened emergency summits to address the influx of refugees fleeing revitalized worlds, as well as the economic upheaval caused by sudden resource abundance. Protesters still filled streets, their chants echoing fears of unchecked power and exploitation. Some accused Ilara and her team of playing God. Others demanded stricter oversight of the precursor sites. Yet amidst the chaos, hope prevailed. Volunteers poured into newly habitable regions, planting crops, building settlements, and forging connections with alien neighbors eager to share in the bounty. Schools introduced lessons about the precursors, teaching future generations to respect the legacy left behind. Slowly but surely, humanity began to embrace its role not just as stewards of Earth, but as guardians of the galaxy. On Elysium Concord, the Council issued a formal apology, a rare moment of humility from an institution known for its pride. Calthar addressed the assembly, his voice steady yet tinged with regret. "We were wrong to suppress the truth," he admitted. "Humanity has proven itself not only worthy but essential to our shared destiny. From this day forward, we pledge to work together, not as rulers or subjects, but as equals." The chamber erupted in applause, though whispers of dissent lingered among certain factions. Valera remained silent during the speech, her multifaceted eyes fixed on the floor. Whether she truly believed in reconciliation or simply bowed to necessity remained unclear. Ilara attended the ceremony via hologram, standing tall despite exhaustion etched into her features. When asked to speak, she chose her words carefully. "This isn't the end. It's a beginning. We've been given a gift, but it comes with responsibility. Let's prove we're ready to carry that burden together." Her message resonated far beyond the council chambers. Across star systems, beings watched replays of her speech, finding inspiration in her call for unity. Even rogue factions quieted their protests, swayed by the visible benefits of the awakening. As the dust settled, Ilara returned to Earth, stepping off the shuttle to find crowds gathered to greet her. Strangers reached out to touch her uniform, their faces alight with gratitude. For the first time in months, she allowed herself a small smile. This wasn't just her victory. It belonged to everyone who had dared to dream of a better future. That night, Ilara climbed a hill overlooking the city, now bathed in golden twilight. She thought of the journey, the sacrifices, the risks, the moments of doubt, and felt a flicker of peace. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but humanity had taken its first steps towards something greater. Somewhere in the distance, stars twinkled brightly against the darkening sky. Ilara closed her eyes, letting the hum of the awakened galaxy wash over her. Whatever came next, they would face it together.